Hello again. Welcome back to our discussion on self-image. So, I've been talking about the book Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. He was a plastic surgeon who decided to become also a psychologist. So that's what we've been talking about. But today I'm going to actually go down a different path, still talking about self-image, but I wanted to talk about our identity, which obviously has to do with our self-image, because we're going to identify our self-image is going to be very closely related to how we identify ourselves. So I'm not going to take a lot of time today. I just want to real quickly try to make a couple points. So we're going to come back to our stick man that again is very popular in psychology. So this is the mind. This is the body. I know it's intentionally unproportionate. Like this is to signify that our mind has a lot of control and is bigger than a lot of us give it credit for. So the top part we are calling our conscious mind. The bottom part is our subconscious mind or unconscious, non-conscious. A lot of people call it different things, but it all basically means the same thing. It is in this subconscious part of our mind that our self-image exists. This is where what we believe about ourselves, this is where it lies and this is where it comes from. Up here, this is our thinking mind. Our conscious mind, that's the mind that we use to think. We take in ideas and we have thoughts about those ideas and we have thoughts about our thoughts and we work through everything and those thoughts come into our subconscious mind, and what we think or what we tell our subconscious mind is basically what our subconscious mind believes. We talked about last week how your subconscious mind, it doesn't analyze your thoughts. It doesn't have the ability to say, oh, well, this is a bad thought. I'm not going to think that anymore. It just accepts whatever we feed it and whatever we imagine, however we imagine things to be. And as I said last week too, the conscious mind or the ability to think and reason doesn't develop until somewhere around between the ages of 6 and 12. So prior to that, all of these thoughts and all of these opinions and all of these things are being fed into our subconscious mind where they're becoming basically our facts for life. And that's to say that your self-image is largely been created by someone else who told you who you are and what you are capable of and what to believe about yourself long before you had the ability to think about it or to even fight those thoughts. So what happens is down here in our subconscious mind, this becomes our conditioning. So this X is there just to represent our conditioning, how we were raised and how we were brought up and to believe about ourselves, what we were told we are. So this represents our conditioning. So we're going to call it X-type conditioning. So our X-type conditioning creates thoughts about who we believe we are. Those thoughts then create feelings. And they're all of the X-type, whatever our conditioning is. Now, our thoughts feed into our conditioning. So therefore we can change our thoughts, we can change our conditioning, but a lot of times we don't. A lot of times we live our life with everything lining up. So if we have X-type conditioning, we have X-type thoughts. Those X-type thoughts create X-type feelings. Those X-type feelings create X-type actions and behaviors. Those X-type behaviors create X-type results. Everything lines up. And that is your comfort zone. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that your comfort zone is actually comfortable. It doesn't mean that we're happy in our comfort zone. It doesn't mean that this is where we want to stay. What it means is that everything lines up. They all match. There's nothing that doesn't match. So, if I believe that I am a failure, if I believe that, that's my conditioning. My failure conditioning creates failure type thoughts. Words. I'll say what a failure I am or talk about that. Those thoughts create feelings. I feel like a failure. And because I feel like a failure, now I behave like a failure. And because I'm behaving like a failure, I'm getting failure type results. And so that's my comfort zone. It just means that I don't have to change anything because everything is in agreement. That's your comfort zone. So, to get out of our comfort zone means that we have to start accepting why ideas, something different than our conditioning. So there are ideas that are out there that doesn't necessarily agree with our conditioning. For example, I think I'm a failure. But someone else says, oh, but remember this success? Remember how you succeeded here? But because it doesn't line up with my conditioning, most of the time, and this is what a lot of us do, we reject that why idea because it doesn't line up. It doesn't match. If I accept that why idea, that now means that I'm living in an unmatched state. Therefore, if I accept it, I am no longer comfortable because I have accepted a new idea. But most of us immediately throw out any idea that is not in alignment with our conditioning. For example, I think I'm ugly. If I believe that, I'm going to say it, I'm going to feel it, I'm going to act like I'm ugly, I'm going to be ashamed, I'm going to have an ugly appearance simply because my attitude is ugly. So the ugly thoughts and feelings creates an ugly behavior, which in turn creates an ugly appearance. But everything lines up. So someone comes along and I say, oh, I'm so ugly. And they say, oh, but you're beautiful. That hits up against my X conditioning, my ugly conditioning, and I reject it immediately. How many times have you given someone a compliment, and it happens to me, people have told me, oh, you look really nice today, and I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, and I reject it immediately. I don't want to hear that. It's not in alignment. It doesn't agree. Of course, I want to be beautiful. I want to feel like I'm pretty, but if you tell me I'm pretty, that's not, if I don't really believe that I am, I'm going to instantly reject it. And we do that all the time, and I think a lot of times we don't even realize that we're doing it. But we're constantly rejecting all of these ideas that are contrary to our conditioning. But here's the thing, in order for us to change this conditioning, we have to allow in why ideas. We have to allow those why ideas to start coming in and make us a little uncomfortable, to challenge us. But here's the problem. We have become so addicted to our story. We're addicted to it. We've been telling ourselves these certain stories about ourselves for so long that they've become a part of us. I think that some of us, and I've been there, so I'm not saying anything that I haven't experienced. But some of us are addicted to our pain. We're addicted to it. I saw a meme on Facebook just very recently, and it was and it said, it was someone hitting an iPad or an iPhone, whatever, to replay a song, and basically the words, the caption said, "This is me replaying a song." Restarting a song because the part that normally hurts me didn't hurt me enough, or something along the lines. The point is that this song feeds my pain, And normally when I hear this part of the song, it hurts me really badly, but this time it didn't hurt me enough, so I need to restart it. Now, obviously, it was meant to be kind of funny and meant to remind us of how we kind of are sometimes, but the point is legitimate. We are addicted to our pain. We are addicted to the stories that we've been telling ourselves for so long that we don't want to hear anything that's contrary to that. It's almost like we want people to just tell us, "Hey, you're a loser," and then we can say, "Oh, yeah, that's an alignment. That's an alignment with my conditioning and how I feel about myself." But if they tell us anything that's contrary to that, we instantly reject it. Nope, it doesn't line up with everything. Rather than accepting a new idea and beginning to maybe let that reshape who we are and who we become, if it is contrary, we reject it instantly. I kind of started thinking about this. I had an angry reaction to something, and I said that I wasn't going to do that anymore, right? Like, this is something that I want to work on. This is something that I want to improve on. And this is an area that I've been making a lot of improvement, and I've been getting better at my reactions to certain things and how I respond. But I responded poorly again. My normal response to that, after I realized, oh, you screwed up again, my normal reaction, or my past reaction to a situation like that, becomes more like, yeah, well, I screwed up again. God, why do you even bother with me? Like, I'm a loser. I'm this. I'm just, no good. And I start telling myself this story, and we are addicted to our stories, and we have to be willing to give it up. So one of the things that I want to talk about identity is the fact that you'll hear a lot of Christians say this. They'll say, I'm just a sinner saved by grace. I've heard that so much. I hear it all the time. I'm a sinner saved by grace. I'm a sinner saved by grace. And it is supposed to basically say, like, be humble, right? Like, I am a sinner. I'm just like everybody else. I'm not perfect. I mess up, but grace has saved me. Thank God for grace. And that's what it's the implication. But the truth is that that's not true. Because 2 Corinthians chapter 5 verse 17 says, anyone who belongs to Christ has become a new person. The old life is gone and a new life has begun. That means if you have become a child of God, if you have accepted Christ as your Savior, that means you're not a sinner anymore. You've become a saint. And I think that we have Paul and all of the disciples that, Peter, that are saints. And we have a difficult time identifying ourselves in that same realm, right? Because, well, they were them and I'm me. How could I possibly put myself on that same level? But we are. If you have accepted Christ as your Savior, you're on that same level. You're a saint. Do we always act like saints? No. Do we always do what we're supposed to do? No. Do we make all of the right choices? No, we don't. But your identity is not a sinner. So to say I'm a sinner saved by grace is not true. I am a saint, and sometimes I live out of my character. Sometimes I sin, even though I'm a saint. So we have to be willing to accept our real identity and stop identifying ourselves with our past stories. We have to learn to accept new ideas and not be addicted. We have to be willing to let go of the story that we've been telling ourselves. Stop calling ourselves all of these things that we feel like we used to be. We don't have to be that. That's the thing. You get to decide who you are. But as long as you are rejecting anything that is contrary to your current conditioning, your failure conditioning, as long as we reject anything that opposes that so that we can stay comfortable and so that everything can stay in alignment, then we're always going to behave that way. I said 2 weeks ago, I said last week, say it again. You cannot outperform your self-image. And if your self-image says, hey, you're a loser, then you're going to continue behaving like a loser. So if you don't want to behave that, if you don't want those kind of results, those kind of effects, then you have to accept the new ideas that come in and start thinking on them. Next week, we'll continue talking about how to take us through those steps. But for now, just know that to stop telling yourself the same story. Stop identifying as a failure or a loser or ugly or whatever. Tell yourself a different story. And then you can start the process of becoming someone different. And it really is as simple as that. It's work for sure, but it isn't complicated. You are what you tell yourself you are. You are what you choose to be. And it's that simple. You are what you choose to be. The Bible tells us that we are what we think. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. We become our thoughts. So have different thoughts. Choose a different story. Become the conqueror that you were created to be. It's your option. It's your choice. So choose different. The Bible also tells us that you have the choice between life or death. I have put before you blessings and cursings, life and death. Choose life. Choose life. Choose a different story. Tell yourself a new story. Hope this helps you. I love you guys, and I will see you next week.